This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio. PHLV Radio.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People TravelWise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Greetings and mabuhay to all our viewers and listeners. Welcome to another episode of Smart People TravelWise. I'm your host, Alvin Adriano, CEO of TravelWise International, and I'm so grateful to welcome you to the beginning of March and another day closer to spring. There's been so much activity in the media about travel industry and a resurgence as we move closer to the end of this challenging time. We've replaced optimism with confirmed reservations, quarantines are being removed, and we continue to see countries opening their borders and enabling tourism to move forward. Excitement doesn't only linger in the consumer arena, but so much more in the travel industry. From cruise lines to tour operators, hoteliers, and airlines, every part of the supply chain was affected. But one of the most impacted sectors within the travel industry was the travel advisor community. With us on today's show is the CEO of ASTA, the American Society of Travel Advisors, Zane Kerby, to discuss how the travel advisor community navigated through the pandemic and how travel advisors will help shape the future of travel. But before we get started, if you are watching live, please hashtag live. And if you're watching on the replay, hashtag replay. Also, if you've worked with a travel advisor before, tag them in the comments below. Let's give them some recognition and acknowledgement for all of their hard work. Now, I've been in the travel industry for about 13 years, and I've witnessed the ever-changing travel industry. But as any leader knows, what you do in the time of crisis is how leaders are defined. I don't think any industry was prepared for the looming uncertainty that plagued the global economy. But however, through this time, we did see leaders and organizations step up to the challenge and innovate, guide, and manage its stakeholders. Nonetheless, Zane Kerby, our fearless leader, has been at the reins of our industry, and I'm so happy to bring him on today's show. A little brief bio on Zane. After a career with the Global Business Travel Association, Zane joined ASTA in 2013, where as the head of the world's largest association of travel professionals, he consistently promotes and advocates for the travel advisor community. He plays a pivotal role in growing ASTA, which his members now generate 80% of all travel sold through the travel agency distribution channel in the U.S. Please welcome the Travel Age West Excellence in Leadership Award winner, Mr. Zane Kerby. What's going on, Zane?
Hey, Alvin, how are you? Thank you for that kind introduction.
Oh, no worries. I'm so glad to have you on here. And I know we talked about being in the hot seat, but man, the industry has gone through some challenges this last 2 years, huh?
It certainly has. It started so abruptly. I guess the effects of the pandemic just hit so fast and so quickly that it had initially a devastating impact on our industry. But I'm glad we're still here. I'm glad most of our members are still here, and certainly want to get into and talk about all the things that have happened over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the travel advisor community, and a lot of people, for a long time didn't realize that we were still around, but it was more prevalent than ever with all the refunds and cancellations and complications with travel. But, as an organization or as an association, what were some of the challenges that you guys faced promoting travel during that time?
Well, I mean, it started with everything with the borders closure and the CDC's no sale order, right? I mean, those are things that for our members, businesses rely on a safe and a secure travel ecosystem in order to earn commissions. Yeah. And so with those things happening and again, shuttering so quickly, it certainly put months and months of work that our members had done to earn modest commissions in peril, and it evaporated overnight. So while the sort of the travel ecosystem kind of wound down, the need for travel advocacy wound up, and I think that's probably why ASTA really, I think, thrived during the pandemic, if you could put it in that way. We certainly, I think, found our footing in terms of advocating forcefully on behalf of our membership, and that's what I think was important. On March 9th of 2020, we were asked by the Small Business Committee in the U.S. House of Representatives to talk to them about what was happening with small businesses, with our members' businesses. And Jay Ellenby, our former chairman, he gave testimony with great distinction, and he helped the 17 members of the U.S. House Committee to understand what effect the pandemic was having on small businesses, like small in-person sort of customers who have to show up in person, businesses like ours. And because of that, all that sort of normal hand wringing, perhaps from Republicans about spending money, all that went away overnight. And people understood very quickly that this was something that needed to be met with great force. And so, the CARES Act, which was the largest, most expensive piece of legislation in U.S. history, it was debated and passed in about 3 weeks' time. So if you think about that, if you weren't sort of on Congress's radar by that early period in March when the world started shutting down, there was no time to get on their radar. It was already debated and done, and they were trying to implement these massive programs, the unemployment insurance and PPP loans and EIDL loans and all the things that kind of helped keep us afloat while the pandemic was raging. And I think that's what I'm proud about is that we certainly continued to. We've held over 400 congressional meetings in the last 12 months to try to help members of Congress understand what's going on with our membership and how they can be helpful to us.
And I love that, building awareness for our community, because one of the things that you lobbied most was unifying and having one voice representing all of the travel industry. And I think it helped a lot because people understood the importance of having an association in Capitol Hill representing us for our best interests. We talk about community and connection during this time. I think it was prevalent than ever that's some of the core values that ASTA has, and being able to unite us together and show us, navigate us through this point was pivotal for us to I guess persevere during the challenging times. So I really, really appreciate all that.
Well, thank you, Alvin. And you've been a great member of ASTAS for a number of years and a great volunteer leader, and which we greatly appreciate. I've thought deeply about this subject. Over the last several years, I've had a lot of time and a lot of sleepless nights. Mm-hmm. And the reality is if you don't join your national trade association, if you don't believe in the power of collective action, which is what you've just described, mm-hmm. If you don't believe in it, then you must really feel like you can pick up the phone and call your member of Congress, and they're going to be able to convince all the other members of Congress to get done what you want to have done. And I don't know anyone that's in that category. No one I know is in that category. And even if you have some sway with your particular member, you need an organized effort. You can't just hit one person at once. You've got to hit multiple angles. You've got to have Republicans and Democrats. You have to work both sides of the aisle. You have to help people. You have to find champions and help people understand exactly why you deserve their support. And that's what I think. Yeah. And so that power of collective action is what really became apparent. If there's any kind of silver lining in the pandemic, which is hard to see, but if there is any silver lining, it's that it became really clear that the power of collective action was really, really important.
Yeah. Partnerships and collaborations are the opportunity to create a lot of opportunities for all of us, organizations working hand in hand, governments and countries working hand in hand. Where do you see ASTA when it comes to partnering with other travel organizations in the future and having a collective voice in certain, I guess, global issues in the future?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We not only represent the thousands of travel advisors here in the United States, but we formed lots of different coalitions and work with different groups, both on Capitol Hill and to just lobby governments around the world. We work with our friends at ECTA that represent European travel associations, the UK, the Caribbean Tourist Authority, the Canadian Tourist Authority, all of them to kind of help them understand, what exactly is happening with our businesses. I'll tell you, in particular, we worked with that last set of travel agency associations around the world to help governments understand that they need to rescind this inbound testing requirement that is so prevalent in many places around the world. Now Europe is really clever. They've decided that they're going to rescind this inbound testing requirement right now because they're trying to get out in front of this springtime, Easter travel season. That they realize what a great impediment it is for people to actually want to go overseas. So they've rescinded the inbound testing requirement. The Biden administration still has not done so, but we've worked with our partners around the world to try to lobby governments to help them understand just what kind of effects their public policy is having on actual business.
Yeah, I think it's really important as a united front that we see these little advisories which plague hysteria over and miscommunicates what it is going on. Really makes a deterrent for us to really sell travel and really connect people who are willing to travel. I know comfortability is a big issue, safety and hygiene as well. But a lot of travelers are just uninformed when it comes to traveling to different variation of places that have relaxed their borders, that have relaxed some of their travel protocols and quarantines. So, 2022 seems to be the year of resurgence. What would you like to continuously see as an optimist push for life after the pandemic? Any things that you would like to see continue for further on?
Yeah, I mean, I would really love to see this inbound testing requirement rescinded, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I think that domestic travel patterns have largely reemerged. In fact, domestic travel in some instances, Alvin, is higher than it was in 2019. But international travel is still down about between 70 and 75%. And why is that? Well, there's no business. Businesses are still kind of waiting on the sideline to get to put their employees back out there in large measure. But the reality is that no one wants to get stuck abroad. Certainly no one wants to get stuck abroad at their own expense. And when you have an inbound testing requirement, you don't know if you're going to get back into the country. It's just such a strange sensation to go and to be tested and then realize, wow, based on the result of this test, I may not be able to go home for the next 5 to 10 days, and won't be allowed back in the United States. You know how I know? It happened to me. I was stuck abroad because I tested positive for COVID, actually. 6 Kirbys were stuck in a hotel room for 5 days, like a house arrest style quarantine, under a threat of a $5,000 fine and 6 months in jail. And it was just absolutely no fun at all. And people don't want to risk that. Yeah. So, that's why we have pushed the Biden administration to rescind the CDC's inbound testing requirement. Once that happens, you're going to see international travel just explode. Because people will know for certainty if you're vaccinated, right? I want to make that distinction. Like if you're vaccinated, you're 16 times less likely to be hospitalized. You're 64 times less likely to die from contracting COVID. And let's face it, I was vaccinated and boosted, and I still got the Omicron variant. Mm-hmm. So it didn't keep me from getting the virus, but it did keep me from becoming seriously ill and or needing hospitalization. So since these great and safe and effective vaccinations are in place, we'd love the Biden administration to push the CDC to rescind this inbound testing order, and that will bring certainty to people's travel planning and allowing them to come back into the country on schedule, and without expending tens of thousands of dollars and being stuck at the mercy of a foreign country's healthcare system and a foreign country's testing policies.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's going to be the gatekeeper that opens up international tourism, because you're right. It is scary not knowing if you're going to be able to get home, trying to work out. And I didn't realize that you were stuck, and I feel for you. It is scary. And so dealing with your family and looking at them and trying to figure out what is going to go on next, that is a scary moment for any parent. And being out of the country, especially during this time, could be terrifying for any person, especially you're in travel. This is every day for you, let alone the average American who doesn't travel as much as we do.
Alvin, we were stuck in a hotel room with 4 teenagers for 5 days straight. And I mean, we literally almost ate each other. So I'm glad, I'm glad that I was the father and they couldn't blame me, even though I tested positive. But my oldest son also tested positive, so all the recriminations were pointed at him for that 5 days before we could actually fly home.
Well, I'm glad you guys made it through. It's hard getting there with that many kids. Well, with in-person coming back, we're seeing a lot more attendance in conferences and international events. AGC, the ASTA Global Convention in Chicago, had the largest attendance than ever in the past. Do you see this being an ongoing trend in ASTA events in the future?
Yeah, in fact, I think San Francisco is actually pacing ahead of Chicago in terms of registrations. We've been very, very fortunate. Again, people did recognize that need for collective action, and they joined their National Trade Association in great numbers. We added about 5,000 paying members during the pandemic at ASTA, which we're extremely grateful for. And part of the magic of a trade association is its ability to gather its members all in one place, where they can share and learn from each other and hear what's latest and what's next. And San Francisco is going to be no exception to that. We're going to put on a great, fun show. San Francisco is everyone's favorite city. I was out there a few weeks ago, and our host hotel, the Hilton, right downtown, is at Union Square, is absolutely gorgeous. They took the pandemic to do a little refreshing of their meeting space in their rooms, and the place looks gorgeous. So really, really fortunate, and looking forward to welcoming everyone to San Francisco in August. Also have some great announcements. I can't say anything right now, but there's some great industry icons, as well as some star power. I'll just say that who will be joining us in San Francisco on the official program.
Well, it's so exciting. I mean, again, people were looking for community and connection during this time, and being able to meet in person in Chicago was not only refreshing, but it was enlightening, because seeing so many people away for so many months, and then seeing for the first time. I mean, you see them on screens, but really connecting. You can never replicate human connection, and so it was so important for all of us to get together during that time. You've been, like during your tenure at ASTA, you've been here for 9 years now. You've gone through Zika, you've gone through the pandemic. Through your tenure, how has your time with ASTA been, and what are things that you can reflect on after going through such a challenging time?
Yeah, I have a get to do job, not a got to do job, right? I get to do this job. I get to wake up and represent ASTA Travel Advisors. I get to get up and work with a great team here at ASTA on things that are issues that are important to our members. I get to host events around the world. So I wake up and pinch myself. I spoke to a woman at the New York Times the other day who covers travel. I said, "You and I have the best jobs in the whole world," right? And I really mean that. I will say though, there was a moment last year. If you indulge me for a minute, I've had a lot of great moments at ASTA, just working with our staff and meeting with our members around the world at events. But I had a really proud moment at ASTA last year that had nothing to do with me, and had nothing to do with the ASTA staff, the current ASTA staff. But it was because of a decision that was made long ago, and it's really inspired me to kind of pay it forward. And last year, ASTA hosted our Destination Expo in Croatia in June. Mm-hmm. And it was quite an event. It was challenging to get there. There was obviously a lot of restrictions in place. We flew through Frankfurt, and we were disallowed by law to leave the Frankfurt airport, even though we had a 9-hour layover. So we had to wait there and then travel on to Croatia. But anyway, so I got there really late, but the opening reception had already started. And so I took a quick bath, or a quick shower in the sink there, and put my tie on and went down to the opening reception, where I was seated at the table of honor next to the mayor of Croatia. And we sat and we watched a beautiful display of local music and customary dancing. And it was just gorgeous. And, the mayor is this young, handsome guy. He's like 3 meters tall. And he leans into me and he said, "Hey, Zane, I just want you to know you're going to go and tour the old city of Dubrovnik tomorrow." And in 1993, when war broke out and the tanks rolled up to the city walls and they started shelling the city and they turned off water, I was in the tourism industry. And it was a harrowing time for our entire city and our country. And he said, but in 1995, when peace was restored, ASTA sent a gift of $100,000 to help restore the roofs in the city that were shelled in the bombing. I came tonight to thank you in person. And I just said, wow. And I thanked him for sharing that with me. And that to me, Alvin, is, again, I wasn't surprised, but I was super proud of that decision that was made by a board of directors and a staff long ago that had such an impact on on the rebuilding process, right? And the feeling of community around the world, and that we are all, if we're all bugs on a leaf, like Charles Dickens said, we're on the same leaf, and we are all together. And that solidarity, I feel compelled now to pay it forward. And certainly we have opportunities with the crisis, the humanitarian crisis going on right now in Ukraine, to do that. And so I've worked with the staff today, and I'm talking with the board of directors about meaningful things we can do whilst we're in Budapest to help relieve suffering and again to be those builders.
And you being in this industry for over 9 years, you running the reins for the travel agents community, and seeing how it has affected the world and how it influences the world, you are the best expert to show or explain the importance of the travel advisors in the upcoming future and how it will influence future travel in the future. Could you explain or I guess verbalize what you see as why travel advisors will be important in the future?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this is the main thing we do is promote the use of Ask the Travel Advisors. We believe in the power of travel. We believe in the power of working with a travel advisor to maximize your experience. And the world is a complicated place, and because of COVID, it's gotten even more complicated. And so, our members' businesses thrive by distilling all this complexity down and taking the hassle and the complexity out of the planning process for businesses and for individuals who again want to maximize the value of their experience for the dollars that they have to travel. And so working with an Ask the Travel Advisor is the best way to ensure that happens, because Ask the Travel Advisors are actually, they agree to live by a code of ethics. And those ethics are that they'll put your needs as a consumer above that of their own business. So it's almost a fiduciary responsibility that they pledge to you when they join ASTA. And occasionally, thankfully, we have 17,000 members. Occasionally, we have to mete out some kind of discipline if there's a dispute between a consumer and one of our members. We adjudicate all those things. We make sure that is resolved to the consumer satisfaction. So the reasons to use an Ask Travel Advisor are numerous. You want someone looking out for you when you're on the road. You want someone who's anticipating things that can happen and rebooking you, or staying up late at night because that's when the upgrade seats are available, and so they are able to slip you in and get that free upgrade on things about this very complex ecosystem of travel that you just don't know about, but that our members know a great deal about and are able to again get you their different perks and take again the hassle out of work out of what's navigating a really complex travel buy.
Zane, during this whole time, travel advisors were so persistent and persevered through this challenging time. I don't think anyone expected any type of to last this long. But with your leadership, we were able to have hope and have inspiration to get to this point. As a leader, we look at the crisis, and the first thing you have to do is what can we do? How can we inspire people? But now that we're getting closer to the end, what are some of the best things that you saw come out of the pandemic?
Yeah, I don't know if so much good came out of the pandemic, but good things happened, I think, because of it. And again, that understanding of collective action. One of the biggest things we face as a trade association is that people kind of said, oh, you know what, I can handle anything that can be thrown at my business on my own. I really don't. There's no reason for me to link arms with Alvin and Zane and everyone else at ASTA. I can handle and manage things on my own. But the pandemic really showed or demonstrated that there are things outside of your business that can greatly affect your livelihood. Mm-hmm. And what I'm hopeful about the future, I think there's some great countries in Asia right now that are doing it right. I'm thinking particularly of South Korea and Taiwan. And what I mean by that is they've dealt with pandemics before. And what happens is, there's automatic triggers when things happen that, they just put money in people's accounts and they put food on their doorsteps, right? We need to get to a place, Alvin, where we're just like that, where if government action is taken in order in the name of public health, for whatever reason, that greatly and gravely damages a particular type of business, an in-person business such as ours, then it feels like the government has a moral obligation to help those businesses until they can remove those restrictions and normal patterns reemerge. So that's where we want to get to. I think we can do it. We've got to continue pushing. But I'm really optimistic. I think the trends are all really incredibly positive. We poll consumers every 2 weeks for the last 2 years. And we ask different questions each time, but a couple of the questions were the same. And it's, are you ready to travel? And what conditions would have to change in order for you to be ready to travel? And in the early days of the pandemic, it kind of waned a little bit. It kind of, people were less eager to get back out there. But then, Alvin, it just roared back. And, it was 70, 80, 85% of people saying, yeah, I'm ready. I'm willing to travel right now. I think that the fact that the government restricted them from doing so, it didn't make them want to stop doing it. It made them want to do it more. And that's what's so exciting about our industry, is because people they're desperate to get back out there. And they know now that government action can actually keep them from seeing Paris in the pyramids. Mm-hmm. And so when that inbound testing restriction is removed, you're going to see international travel absolutely explode, because people know that, they don't know that another pandemic or another variant or something can come and change things on a dime. And so, Americans are sitting on enormous sums of money right now. Bank balances have never been higher than they are right now. People are sitting on cash. And I think, they're in large measure, they're sitting on cash, waiting to spend that on experiences that they want to have abroad.
And I love the approach and the way you say it. People don't consider tourism as a big industry, but as a global product. We account for like 10% of the global economy. I mean, we are so intertwined with so many different industries all around the world that we are part of the global economics of things. And, the way that we advocate for change. I love how you show how important travel advisors must unite together to make changes in our government for these type of situations. But with that said, Zane, I'm so appreciative for you coming on the show and sharing all your insights and your knowledge and expertise on this industry. Is there any last minute tips or advice that you wanted to share with our viewers and listeners?
No, just definitely get back out there. The world is such a beautiful and wonderful place. I've been able to travel throughout the pandemic, go and see some of those wonderful places that are going to get crowded really, really soon. And absolutely go to travelsense.org and find an Ask the Travel Advisor. They specialize in where you want to go, and they'll help you get there and get back and take all the stress out of it. Thanks, Alvin.
Thank you so much, Zane. So no matter where you are in the world, we all dream of being somewhere different sometimes. Travel has the power to transform people by experiences, and as we begin to explore again, travel will grow even bigger than before. As the world modernizes with the internet, many people may have thought that role and service of a travel advisor became redundant and unneeded. But as we realized during the pandemic, you can never really automate human experience. Community and connection became buzzwords during the lockdowns, which also gave light for the need of compassion and empathy, two emotions that not only characterize humanity, but also defines the true value of a travel advisor. ASTA, under the leadership of Zane, provided support through its lobbying efforts, but also provided hope and inspiration to an industry who were inundated with surmounting challenges. But through his steady leadership, he did show us the importance of having a unified voice and the importance of community. I'm really, really proud to be an ASTA member, but most of all, a travel advisor connecting people to the rest of the world. Thank you again for all of our viewers who are able to spend a few minutes with of their day to learn about the travel industry. Don't forget to catch our show every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time or 3 p.m. East Coast time on PHLV Radio available on any platform you listen on podcasts. You can even catch us on PHLV Radio's app, which is available on all iOS and Apple devices. And if you want to stay tuned to our latest episode, go to bit.ly/smartpeopletravelwise and click on the follow and hit the bell and get notified on upcoming shows and episodes. And again, if you're looking to travel and experience the world, reach out to our award-winning travel agency, TravelWise International, at 301-248-8898. So thank you again to all of our viewers and listeners. I appreciate your time, and I hope you're able to learn something more about the travel industry. Until next time, smart people travel wise.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People Travel Wise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV.